Good evening, friends. I welcome you all in this meeting organized by the Finance and Economic Forum of Vidarbha Industry Association. Friends, today we are fortunate enough to have with us Dr. V. Aditya Srinivas, who is the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Economist of Bombay Stock Exchange Brokers Forum, one of the important forum of the Bombay Stock Exchange. We deal with the various economic issues being faced by the country, and they suggest many suggestions to the government of India also. फ्रेंड्स इंडियन इकोनॉमी में देर आर सो मेनी इश्यूज. कई लोग सोचते हैं कि इकोनॉमी अच्छी चल रही है, कुछ लोगों की नज़रों में इट इज़ नॉट गोइंग वेल. बीजेपी से पूछो तो इट इज़ डूइंग वेल, कांग्रेस से पूछो तो दे से इट इज़ गोइंग टू वर्स्ट. व्हाट इज द प्रेजेंट स्टेटस ऑफ द इकोनॉमी, वेदर इट इज़ रियली डूइंग वेल, इट विल डू वेल, व्हाट इज द स्टेटस? वील नो ऑल दिस बाय मिस्टर श्रीनिवासन, एंड आई रिक्वेस्ट आवर प्रेसिडेंट अतुल पांडे जी टू वेलकम मी थ्रू बुक. Before I invite him, I request Megha Jaiswal to introduce Dr. Aditya.
Good evening, everyone. Myself, Megha Jaiswal. I welcome on behalf of VIA to all the members. Today's speaker is Dr. Aditya Srinivas, who is MBA Gold Medal, PhD, MDP from IIM Ahmedabad, CW ISO 9001-2008 Lead Auditor. He has 12 years of experience in the field of financial services with a complete knowledge about all the segments of the capital market and financial products. He has exposure to research in the capacity of fund manager of various assets allocation and asset linkages. He has complete knowledge about the working of the operation aspects of the capital market and in a specific about the stock market fraternity. He has presented research papers in national and international conferences which gives complete exposure to the international experience. He has completed practical and on-hands exposure to the working of the stockbroking firms as well as leading stockbroking houses in various capacities. In-depth knowledge of microeconomics and fundamental research as worked as a fund manager. He is working as a Chief Operating Officer of BSE Brokers Forum and as a Chief Economist also as Bombay Stock Exchange Brokers Forum. Dr. Aditya Srinivas has referred to the appointed as an advisor by Member of Parliament Lok Sabha, Shri Hansraj Ahir to Prime Minister. Dr. Manmohan Singh received letters from the Prime Minister office and acknowledged the same. Dr. Aditya Srinivas invited by the Harvard Law School to attend the International Conference on the Islamic Finance from 25th April 2007 and 2014 held at Boston. He has headed Investor Awareness Program Drive and have personally taken 310 sessions pan-India covering 19,500 participants including IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Indore, Nasim Munje, SBJN College, Symbiosis and a name of few. He is regularly invited by DD News and CNBC Bazaar on monetary policy, CPI, WPI data and trade data and have given more than 25 interviews till date. So, this was the things. I now request Dr. Aditya Srinivas. Okay. Yeah. Before that, I request President Atul Pandey ji to take the.
Friends, I'll not take much time. I'll just take, on your behalf, maybe while welcoming Dr. Srinivasan, I would really request him to elaborate and educate us about what he feels the economic scenario right now. Because it's very confusing for the industrial community today. A lot of us feel that situation is very depressive, and we are hoping against hopes that ab theek ho jayega, vagera vagera. I've been touring even other, like I was there in Chandrapur day for yesterday. Tomorrow I am at Amaravati and Akola and other places. Even the feedback from other towns and other places is that they are really quite depressed about the whole thing. If I quote, say for example, steel sector, one of the experts in his analysis says that the pace and the aggression with which China, Japan, Taiwan, the way they are invading the Indian market. I would insist on using the word invading because the intentions are to virtually kill the Indian industry. That is the mandate there. And 1 year back, when we were interacting intensely with our rolling mill friends and other steel industry connected friends, we were making hue and cry about the cost of production because of high power tariff and things of that sort. मुझे लगता है कि चलिए हम ये इतना कर भी लेंगे, थोड़ी सी और कॉम्पिटिटिव बन भी जाएंगे, पर अगर इतनी इस प्रकार की किलर इंस्टिंक्ट के साथ में अगर हमें इंटरनेशनल कंपटीशन फेस करनी पड़ रही है और एंड दैट टू अ कोर इंडस्ट्री लाइक स्टील, देन आने वाला समय कैसा होगा, क्या होगा, ये एक बहुत ही बड़े प्रश्न का विषय है. एंड देयरफॉर with all the eagerness and interest, we look forward to your address, trying to find some ray of hope, some brightness in the economy in the coming months and years. Thank you.
Very good evening to all my dear friends. I would really like to thank VIA Vidarbha Industry Association, especially the President Sir, Shri Atul Pandey, and the Finance Forum Head, Shri Bagadia ji, who has really been instrumental in ensuring that I come here and address this gathering. I am really thankful to all of you members also for participating in this session. Basically friends, to start with now, currently as Sir aptly said, the economy is definitely passing through a tough time. In fact, just last month I was at CII headquarters in New Delhi and we had a meeting of all industries councils there, and what you said is absolutely correct. Not even a single industry was telling that things have improved at the grassroots level, and that's a fact, sir, that's a fact. See, there are, I'll just cover quickly first global economy and then VR, because we are now more connected with the global markets. See, if we cut the picture short, basically there are 4 economies which contribute 61% in world's GDP. If we take USA, it contributes 23%, the highest in the world, even today, 23% in world GDP. If we take Europe, 20%, China 9.3 and Japan 8.7. Now the crux is, if we total these 4, it will come to 61%. That means these 4 powers control 61% of world's GDP. A question comes, hum kahan gaye? Where are we? We contribute only 2.4% in world GDP, and that is the precise reason why we get affected by global factors. We never affect the global factors. Getting it? See, so if you just a simple example, in the first this 15 days of 2016, what FIIs have done, they have withdrawn 9,900 crores from Indian stock markets, and our markets are going down like anything. For the last 3 months, to be very frank friends, the capital market is having sleepless nights, the way markets are coming down. Plus, if we see our macroeconomic indicators, they are also not in good shape. Now, just to reiterate the point, out of these 4 global powers, excepting USA, other 3 are having major problems. I will go point-wise so it becomes easy to understand. Now, if we take China, in many forums in last 2 months where I have addressed, a lot of people ask, sir, exactly China ka problem kya hai? Now, if I put it in a very simple language, their problem is, their income is 100 rupees, they have to repay 282 rupees back. It is their simple problem. If I speak common man's language, 100 रुपए इनकम है, 282 रुपए उनको चुकाने हैं. किसको चुकाने हैं? वर्ल्ड इन्वेस्टर्स को और चाइनीज बैंक्स को. See what they did a model known as tidal wave investing. Tidal wave investing is whereby 50% of your economy size you invest in infrastructure. Now their size is $10.4 trillion. China's size is, we are only $1.9 trillion. What these people have done in the past couple of years, they invested heavily in creating infrastructure. But now so much excess infrastructure has been created, there are no users for that. And as a result, the money which has been invested has become bad debt. That is problem, only one part of the story. Second problem there is that lot of wealthy Chinese investors have put in money into the stock market, borrowed money from banks and put it into stock market. See, the entire problem came out from this point only. In June, July, if you recollect, their markets crashed by 35%. 35 to 40%, their markets crashed. Now then the analysis came out, why markets crashed? The reason was their Chinese regulator increased the margin money in the stock market, and since leverage positions were there, these people couldn't pay, so the stock exchanges started squaring the position. This was the trigger point from which this whole story came out, there is something seriously wrong in China. And then the outcome was they started devaluing their currency. To be very frank, they started a currency war. They are basically devaluing their currency in the name of increasing exports, but that is actually causing repercussions to the entire globe, because China is world's largest consumer and producer of steel, aluminium and copper, which is widely used in industrial activities. Plus, why India, as sir aptly said, why we need to worry a lot, because if you take India's top 10 trading partners, China is number 1 with 9.5% share in our total foreign trade. That is the biggest risk. We take a simple example. India's C8 company makes a tire for 20,000. The same tire from China is available at 12,000. Our ceiling fan is available at 1400. Their fan is available at 400. So their quality, yes, we just cannot discuss on that. It's no good. But then again, because of price competitiveness, they are able to push. And plus, with this fall in their currency, they will flood the entire world markets with cheap Chinese products. So that is scenario number 1. That means out of 4 superpower, one is having so many problems. Second, if we come to Japan, Japan has already been printing 80 trillion yen. 80 trillion yen वो print कर रहे हैं with zero interest rate. There is no demand. So obviously their economy is facing lot of problems. Officially they have declared that they are into recession. वो already मान चुके हैं कि हम recession में है, because their GDP contracted more than 0.8%. So second economy is also in trouble. If we come to Europe there is no respite. Greece having a debt to GDP ratio of 177%. Spain 120% and Italy 160%. So when the debt to GDP ratios of these 3 economies are so high and there is no clarity how they will repay this amount of debt back. Because just if you are following economic news, just 10 days before, IMF made a clarification that from now onwards they will not be part of the TRICOA. TRICOA is IMF, European Central Bank and European Union in the process of lending. They have removed themselves. The rule which they had made in 2010, because they are also finding it difficult to believe Greece that they will come out with any economic reforms. So means the whole scenario is what, friends, okay, basically talking out of 4 major economies, 3 are facing major problems. And if I compare the 3 economies, the problem is only one simple line: too much leverage capital. Too much means beyond limit is the leverage capital, borrowed capital on their balance sheets, and now they have got trapped in that vicious cycle. See, what we call it internationally, when I meet these foreign investors who come to BSc, they evaluate a country from a measure known as debt to GDP ratio. Debt to GDP ratio measures the size of your economy vis-a-vis the debt levels in your economy, the borrowed capital. Now, if we take India's position, our ratio is 57. We are very, very safe thanks to our savings culture. But if you take the so-called developed economies, USA 103%. That means 100 rupee they have to repay 103. Europe 92.3%, Greece 177%, Spain 120, Italy 160, Japan 229, and China, so-called competitor of us, 282%. In fact, just 2 months back, sir, I was at South Korea, where there was a 20 nations conference for 5 days, just discussing this Chinese issue. What impact it will have on global markets? Because everybody is afraid of China. With two reasons. One, it has a major holding internationally in commodities market. So when it goes for a toss, world over commodity cycle goes for a toss. That is one. And second reason, it has invested heavily in US Treasury bill. It is having an investment of $1.1 trillion. 1.1 trillion का China का investment है US Treasury bill में. So that is a very, very political sensitive investment. The moment US pressurizes them, वो एक ही कहता है backdoor से कि भाई I'll withdraw this money. So which, even to be very frank, US also cannot afford at this point of time, because US economy has improved, no doubt, but alone US cannot pull the world economy. See, they increased the interest rate in December by 0.25 basis point. Now many people ask me that what is the meaning of this Fed rate hike? See, Fed rate hike वो 16 में भी करेंगे, 17 में भी करेंगे. It is not the percentage which matters. It is the message what US is sending to the global economy. See, US economy, some data if I share, their unemployment before 4 years was 9.8%. Now it is at 5.1%. 40 years low, their unemployment has come down. That means their economy is completely back on track. Second, Federal Reserve is having a cash balance of $160 billion. It made this profit on the companies which it had bailed out in 2008. See, in US Fed, it is allowed that when they bail out a company, they purchase shares. In return, they take the shares of that company. So over a period when those companies have revived, this valuation is multiplied. In fact, RBI does not allow any such thing, but that is in a way a good thing, because US companies were able to revive. Indian corporate sector as of now is having a lot of issues. So this was in nutshell a global scenario where there is lot of problems on one hand about the three major economies, and US alone cannot pull the world's growth engine. Now if we trickle down to India, okay, by where we are standing, so unfortunately we are having problems currently at both the fronts. One, our stock market is not performing. It's a barometer of the economy, we call it. In just 18 days, FIIs have pulled out 9,900 crore rupees. A heavy pullout by FIIs, which last year in the same 18 days was investment of 17,000 crore. This year it is minus 9,000 crore. So that is really sending shivers to investors and brokers, because everybody's portfolio is down at least by 35 to 40%. So that is a major cause of concern. One. Second, friends, what has happened this time? See, in 2008 and 11, we told the world economy कि भाई हमारा banks best है, our banks are very good, banks are very strong. But this time the risk is with our banks the highest. Our gross NPA has touched 5.42%. It is 3 lakh crore rupees. Our gross NPA is 3 lakh crore. And in last 2 years, this NPAs have gone up by 24%. It has increased. Now RBI is clearly telling to banks कि by March 2017 you clean your balance sheet. That means you provide adequate provision. But provision के लिए पैसा तो चाहिए. From where will you bring that money? These banks have only two options. One, either government infuses this money. No, government says कि भाई I can infuse only 26,000 crore rupees. मेरे पास पैसा नहीं है. So remaining almost 1 lakh crore rupees the banks will have to bring from IPO. IPO in the sense from the stock market. Those banks who are already listed, they will have to bring an FPO, follow on public offer, and raise. But this is again possible if your balance sheets are good, because if your balance sheets are weak and if you go to the investor to take money, nobody will invest. And considering the current trend of capital market, it's really challenge for any company to raise money from the market. So it is definitely a major risk to Indian financial system. Plus our rupee have depreciated. Rupee is depreciating fast. It has reached, if I just recollect rupee, 2007 $1 was 38 rupees, one of the best performances of Indian currency. 2011 $1 was 43 rupees. 2013 $1 went to 68 rupees. And today right again we are at 67.50 somewhere. Again we are at a very low level. Now just think for a minute, friends. Okay, rupee is at 68. Had oil been at $80-90, हम कहाँ होते? Exactly, हम bankrupt हो गए होते. That's a hard fact. Our biggest, what we can say, God's cushion to us is that oil is at $29. Had oil be at original prices, we would have been in a major bankruptcy situation. Now oil also, friends, many people want to know okay, why it is coming down. So there are three theories internationally which say why oil is coming down. Theory number one says that USA is trying to build shale gas technology, which is a substitute of crude oil. But that technology is viable only if the crude oil prices are above $80. So in order to kill USA, OPEC and Saudi Arabia has done this mischief. That is theory number one. Theory number two says that this agency, so-called ISIS, which is creating problems all over the world, they are selling oil in black market because they have acquired lot of oil wells in Iran and Iraq after capturing Syria, all those. So they are selling oil, because of which supply has gone up and the price has crashed. And theory number three says that the world economy genuinely is slowing down, and that is why the demand of oil is also gradually coming down, because of which the oil prices have adjusted to this new low. Fourth, Iran, the sanctions have been lifted, so Iran will be joining international oil supply, and Iran is one of the biggest producers of oil. So that will definitely add more pressure on the oil that it will come down. Now IMF projection for oil 2016-17 is that it should go back to $50 to $55. And I really wish it should go to that level. See, for the simple reason, currently we may find that we are in a comfortable situation, but if these prices remain for another 6 months now, the world will be on the verge of a third recession or a third world war. Because when oil comes down drastically, countries like Russia, Brazil, Venezuela are on the verge of getting wiped off. Another risk is the Gulf countries, Arab countries. Before 1 year, they were having a current account surplus of $475 billion. Today, they are having a current account surplus of only $60 billion. So the moment they turn near that minus figure, they will start withdrawing the money which their sovereign wealth funds have invested in emerging economies. So that will really add pressure to entire emerging economy pack. That is one aspect. And second is the Indians which are working in large numbers, rather in lakhs, in Gulf countries may be forced to leave and come back to India. Because see, they can afford that cost structure which was made at $100 per barrel income. Now, if that that oil itself has come down to $29 per barrel, so how will you adjust that cost structure? You will have to reduce cost structure also. So, manpower, lost jobs is a major issue which we are facing from that side. Now, if we say our macros, as sir aptly said one point I really like, Congress says it is more mess, BJP says it is more good. So, what is the real scenario? See, if we analyze practically from the GDP data, see, our GDP was only 4.6% originally, 4.6% in 2013. This new government came, they changed the base year from 2004-5 to 2011-12. And then suddenly our GDP, which was at 4.7, we said that it is at 7%. So it is one of the key reasons, sir, that even the international investors have not liked this stance what the government took, that changing the base year. See, because logic is very simple. If our economy is really growing at 7%, why is the corporate profitability as 1.5%? It is simple correlation. See, GDP कब रियल सेंस में बढ़ता है? जब corporate profitability बढ़ती है, यानी कंपनियों का profit बढ़ना चाहिए. If you see just last quarter data, 2,500 top companies of BSE and NSE have registered only net profit rise of 1.5%, not even 5%. The grassroots level scene is really, really bad. Then data prove this. Second, if you take IIP data, that is Index of Industrial Production, which tracks the manufacturing segment, it is at minus 1.3% as compared to 3.2% earlier. The core sector data, which has 8 industries which account for 38% weightage in IIP, is again at minus 3.2 versus 9.8. And if we see the inflation, again it is back at 5.61%. The moment inflation will reach near 6%, immediately RBI will put a halt on this rate reducing mechanism, and it will again go to the original stand कि भाई अभी rate नहीं घटाना है, let us try to increase rate. And industry is already having a pressure on cost of capital. The balance sheets of corporates are highly leveraged today, and that is the reason that if you find that EPS is not rising, and as a result the investors are not getting any return. Just to share, see why the simple reason why Kingfisher stopped flying. 7,000 crore rupees loan they borrowed, which actually was out of their reach. Yet they borrowed by managing balance sheet, and the result is they couldn't pay anything. The company is in now a big mess. If you say Bhushan Steel, they have borrowed some 40,000 crore rupees from a PSU bank, and nobody knows where that money has gone. In fact, RBI has asked banks to take over the management. Second, third, DLF, the largest real estate company, they are having a debt of 24,000 crore rupees on balance sheet. 24,000 crore. ये तो सिर्फ principal है, इसके interest तो हम जोड़ ही नहीं रहे. So how will the EPS rise? Bharti Airtel, for last 13 quarters their net profit is falling because they borrowed 66,000 crore rupees to acquire that South African Zain company. अभी तक वहाँ से कुछ profit नहीं निकला है. That means our own companies are also having lot of leverage issues. So if you put a sum total picture, the situation is real difficult. And the worst part is with a government having so clear majority, no reforms is passing in the parliament. See, that is creating very negative image in terms of foreign investors. See, GST, the whole year 2015 we wasted. Even 16 till October there is no chance that GST may see the light of the day. Rather, to be very frank, it will come now in 2017 only. And that too if these people behave maturely. If again they are fighting, it is gone for a toss. Then land acquisition bill. That means when I meet foreign investors in BSE, a lot of foreign dignitaries come to understand our economy and this thing, and I have an opportunity to interact with them. They are very clearly telling that if these two reforms do not see the light of the day in 2016 first half, we will see a major foreign outflow going from our economy. Because what message they are interpreting is that India is a country where even with the absolute majority, government cannot do anything. So that is the worst part. See, with a government having 282 seats in parliament, and if still we cannot do anything, then what other thing will affect this economy? So that signal goes in that particular sense. So if you take the whole sum total picture, it is, yes, for a common man, life is becoming more difficult. Plus, see, many times we talk about three features that what India can boost for long-term growth. See, in spite of these challenges, we still are a promising economy because of three reasons. One is demographic dividend. In simple terms, today our 70% of population is less than 35 years of age. That is the single biggest plus point we have out of these 189 countries in the world. No country in the world is today as young as India is. That is one. Second, that we consume, that is our domestic consumption. We consume 80% of our total production here only, as compared to only exporting 20%. So we are not an export-oriented economy, and that has protected our economy from these global crashes. That is the second. And third key feature is our savings ability, the culture which we have, that we have to save money. Savings has protected a common man relatively as compared to others in the foreign economy, where when they lose job they don't have anything, because as such their EMIs are piled up and they don't save money. But friends, to be very frank,